Welcome to Cindy Certified Recipes. Don't keep wishing for that great holiday turkey. This year we combined and re-edited my 3-part turkey series into one comprehensive video, making it easier for you to go from stock to stuffing and turkey to gravy. My original 3-part turkey series will still be available to watch every detail, so please don't forget to like and subscribe, everybody. Now let's get to that video. So first off, you gotta make sure you get beautiful, beautiful turkey necks. It all hinges. This is your secret ingredient right here, is these beautiful turkey necks. So I'm gonna put these in the pot. Just dump them on in there. You don't have to have as many as I have, but I have a 22-pound turkey, and I like a lot of richness in my stock, and those guys will add it for sure. Okay, and then I like to add just chunks and chunks of celery. I normally like to try and find celery that has a lot more leaves than this, but this year I got what I got. So we're going to throw some chunks of celery in there. Chop it up just coarse. You don't need to do anything fancy. Toss it in the pot. The more leaves, the better, because in my opinion, the leaves have the most flavor. Okay. And now I like to add the onions. And in this little pot, I like to add 2 onions. And you want to find onions that are nice and firm, as much skin as possible, because you're going to want to leave that skin on, because the skin adds lots of flavor and color to this stock. So we're just going to roughly chop those. Now if some of the skin falls off, just pick it up and throw it in the pot, because we're going to be straining that later. Like that. Just throw it in there. So just quarter them, pitch it. Go on to the next one. Throw that skin in there. Throw it in the pot. It's kind of fun to make stock, just pitch it. And I got these huge carrots at the market. They've been selling these monsters, and I thought they were hilarious. But we're gonna put that sucker in the pot. Just cut it in chunks, like so. Like a redwood tree. This was a little fat, so I'm gonna cut that in half. Okay, put that in the pot. And next I like to add a whole clove of garlic. And while I do these is separate the cloves, and then I give them a quick little smash, just to kind of release their essence. And I'll dump those all in the pot. Next I like to add a very generous amount of peppercorns. So sprinkle those suckers in. A couple of bay leaves, because this is a large pot. Put those in. And then I like to add a generous amount of fresh thyme. Please only use fresh thyme, because it makes a world of difference. And you can tie all the garni together, but like I said, I'm going to be straining it, so you don't need to go through all that fuss. And then throw in, I probably have a little too much here. I'm going to throw in about this much small bunch of flat leaf parsley. Throw that in the pot. And then I'm going to throw in some salt. I'll probably have to adjust that later. Add more. It's always better to add more later than try to take it out. And so now we're going to fill this with water and get this on the stove. That's about where we want it. So now we have our stock on the stove, and we're going to put it on high to get it up to a boil. And I'm going to put this lid on loosely to keep it from bubbling over. And when I see it start to boil, I'm then going to turn it down to a simmer, and it's going to simmer all day long. After you've unwrapped your turkey and brought it home, you're going to want to give it a good rinse and a good clean and get those giblets out. So let's give it a bit of a rinse. And at one end or the other, you're going to find the giblets. So it depends on the turkey. Sometimes they're all here, and sometimes they're back here. There they are. I like to save the neck and these little guys, put them in the pot. And the heart. That's the heart. I don't like to save the liver because the liver, I like to make a little additional stock with that, and the liver will make your stock cloudy. And so the liver gets thrown away. So then lift it up and give it a good rinse. Get some water in there. Let it drain and then do the other end. That's good. Turn off the water and then get all that water out as best as you can. Once you're done with this, you'll give your sink a good cleaning. I like to sit it up here on some paper towels. And this is a little cling wrap here so that I can give it a good pat down. You want it nice and dry, inside and out. Just for your reference, this is a 22-pound fresh turkey. It's been my experience to help to get the best results possible as far as a juicy, flavorful bird is to look for a fresh turkey and never frozen turkey. So I'm going to turn that around. He's a tad heavy. And wipe it out. I also, when I do this, sometimes on the type of turkey, there'll be little parts in there that you don't necessarily want mixed up with your stuffing. Little globs of fat or other things, and you want to give it a good look in there and make sure you don't have any of those things. And if you do, just pull them out, throw them away. And there's ribs in there that you want to stick the paper towel down into. They act like little wells, and get all that moisture out. The drier, the better. And this guy here, I like to cut those off, and sometimes I'll throw it in with the stock, like that. And you can leave these plastic ties on the legs. I like to tie the legs myself, but these are oven friendly, and but I don't like them, so I take them out. And it is a struggle, but they do come out. And like, here's a little glob of fat I don't like, so I'm just gonna cut that off and throw it away. And that gives me a nice opening for stuffing. Here in the next step, I have just a little bit of a salt and pepper mix here. No particular measurement, just whatever looks good. And I pour a little bit of that in my hand because I'm going to rub that inside the cavity. Do the other side. And now we're ready to start stuffing that bird. In order to stuff the smaller end of the turkey, I like to stand it up in a bowl in the sink, and that makes it stand up nice, so you have good access and you're not fumbling with it. And then the best way is just to start grabbing some stuffing. Don't squeeze it, keep it nice and light, and just kind of place it down in there. I like to loosen the skin a little bit on the breast meat and push it just a little bit up in there. Gives me a little more space to get some stuffing up in there. Don't press it in there too tightly. You just want to kind of loosely get it in there. This will expand when it cooks. And if a little falls out, that's fine. Actually, I'm going to show you a little trick by actually putting extra stuffing in the pan, but we'll get to that. So you can see I'm pressing a little bit, but not too hard. And that's just about there. Maybe another handful. This turkey has a lot of skin that I can work with to cover it. So that's about right. And I like using these trussing pins. And every year it's always a little different with these turkeys as to how much skin you have to work with. So break out your sewing skills here a bit and try to fold the skin as best as you can and just start pinning it. You'll take these out when you start pulling the stuffing out, when the turkey has rested. There we go. That looks nice and tight. And now on to the next step. I want to show you what I use to roast my turkey. Is I have this nice roasting pan. It's not an expensive pan. You don't need an expensive pan. But one thing I do look for in a roasting pan is that it has this lip. And this one does have a nice big dome lid that you'll see. But I do have other roasting pans that have the lip, and sometimes I won't use the dome. And I'll tent the turkey with foil, and that lip is important to get that foil around. So always, in my opinion, look for a roasting pan with a lip. And I like to keep the turkey off the bottom, and so I get one of these, I use one of these racks, this black rack here, and that way I can lift it out of the pan when I'm ready to do the gravy. And then I like to get the turkey then off the rack onto a flat surface to be carved, and that's where this chain turkey lifter comes into play, where then I can easily grab these handles and lift it off that rack and onto a flat carving surface. And so that is how I set up my roasting pan. Here we are now at the stuffing stage. And so I have our turkey all set up on the rack system. And it's time to just start grabbing some handfuls of stuffing and getting it in that cavity. So again, we're just gonna push it in lightly. You don't wanna pack it in. See these little sides here where you can loosen the skin away? Those are excellent opportunities to put stuffing. You can also add herbs in there if you like, but This is what I've done for 40 years and it's what I stick with. Plus then when I'm testing it later, it gives more opportunity to nibble. I need a little bit of room to tie the legs up, and then I'll stuff a little more stuffing on there. So maybe just a little bit more here. That looks good. Now on to the next stage. In this step, I like to tie up the legs a bit to hold in all that stuffing, and also makes it look a little nicer. So get yourself some butcher's twine and just cut off about 2 arm lengths. You can always make it shorter when you're done. Then I just start tying a knot like that, and then go around the leg and around the other leg. Keep going around, pulling them together. And then that little piece there, I go around 3 times. Tie it down. So when you go 3 times, it kind of holds that string there. Give it a good knot. I'm going to tie that one more time. Use your scissors and just snip it off. And that's how I tie my legs. I like just to leave the wings out. It makes it difficult if you try and tuck them under the bird to get it to sit right on the rack. Depending on the particular turkey and its shape, sometimes I'll wrap a tie around here with that butcher's twine and around here to make them lay flat like that. But today I'm just going to leave them up. And even if you're not into wings or how you're presenting it, you can even snip them if you like, but I just leave them up. Now that I have them all nice and tied up, I like to add a little more stuffing on top here. Just kind of lightly press it on. Makes it look very pretty. And a trick I do before it goes in the oven is I will put a few little chunks of stuffing into the pot. And that way when the drippings go down in there, it not only adds a little extra flavor to the drippings, but a little extra color also. There we go. And then I will pour, my hands are slippery, a little bit of that stock in the pan. Just a little bit. There we go. And now the next step. So now before I put it in the oven, I like to soften some butter with a heaping teaspoon of salt and pepper. You can add herbs to this if you like, maybe thyme, whatever you like. And then I just like to slather it on there. Get it all over the turkey. You can use a brush, but I just find my hands work better. This is a stick of salted butter. Get it in all those crevices. And that turkey's ready for the oven. One of the things I want to tell all of you is that it's very important when you're stuffing a turkey that your turkey is cold and your stuffing is cold. So that's why I normally make my stuffing the day before. You make it a couple days before and you keep it in the refrigerator, but you always want to stuff your cold turkey with cold stuffing, and you have to stuff it the day you cook it. You cannot stuff it in advance and then put your turkey in the refrigerator and wait to cook it. You can't do that. So always cold turkey, cold stuffing. And now I'm gonna put my thermometer in, run the nice meaty breast area there. And what we're looking for on that is about 175 on the thermometer, because once it rests, it's gonna keep cooking another 5 degrees to 180. And now we're gonna put the lid on and get this in the oven. So I always make extra stuffing because we love stuffing. And what doesn't fit in the bird, I like to get just a baking dish, and I'll line it with a little heavy duty foil. Because if you just put the stuffing in the foil, sometimes it leaks out. And I'll just spoon the rest of that stuffing into this bowl and into the foil. That way when you ball up the foil, it kind of acts like a mock turkey cavity. And then I will add a little bit of stock to this. And it will go into the oven about an hour and a half before the turkey is done. I'll press it just a little bit like I would if it was inside the turkey. And because it's not getting moisture from the turkey, I'll add just a little bit of stock to it. And then close up that foil. And it's ready to put in the oven down the road. Take your roasting pan with all those drippings and place it on your stove. This is where you're going to take out any solids you don't like and reserve the chunks of stuffing at the bottom. Turn 2 burners onto medium-low and stir in enough Wondra to make a roux. I like using Wondra because it's less prone to lumps. As you're stirring in the Wondra, you're also going to be scraping up the brown bits. They add a lot of color and flavor. Keep adding the Wondra until your roux gets nice and thick. I like to switch between a whisk and a wooden spoon as I'm doing this to get all those brown bits off the pan. When you see the roux starting to thicken, raise the heat a tad to cook the roux and get that flour flavor out. Here's where I like to use my wooden spoon and start scraping all those brown bits to get all that lovely flavor. If you still see some unincorporated drippings, just add a tad more Wondra. Keep your stock warm on the stove so as not to cool your roux down, and then start generously ladling it in. Use your whisk to dissolve the roux. From this point, you'll be adding stock, stirring it in, and bringing it up to a boil to thicken, and you'll repeat these steps several times. Constant stirring is key to making gravy.
You can see as the gravy gets thicker, you're going to add a lot more stock and work that in, and then keep heating it and it'll get thicker. And this is why I make a lot of stock for the gravy. There's visual changes all through the gravy making process, which is why I'm showing you this whole video, and you can see how it changes as I go through adding and cooking it down and adding. Once the gravy gets close to being done, I add my secret stuffing I cooked in the bottom of the roasting pan. I think it makes a huge difference. It'll dissolve in there and add more color and flavor. As you stir in those stuffing pieces, you'll notice the gravy getting more of that sought-after caramel color. No food coloring here. The gravy is getting closer to being finished, and I like to check for consistency, and you can adjust the consistency that you like. You'll start to notice as you're stirring the gravy, it will dramatically slow down thickening. This is when it's finished and you can adjust any seasonings. How gorgeous is that gravy? When it's finished, turn your heat down to a simmer, and then you can remove the stuffing from your turkey. This is the star of the show. Everyone is sure to love this turkey. Plate it up and start digging in. And remember, if it's time tested, top-notch ingredients, and the talk of the table, it's Cindy certified.